Hi there, welcome to your mat. My name is Valerie, and today we'll be going through a handful of standing postures that will bring in a sense of stillness. Although we will be starting in our seat today, you will want to make sure that you have a few props with you on the mat. We'll need 2 blocks. If you don't have blocks, you can use something of the same height, maybe like 2 water bottles. If you have 2 water bottle jugs, something that's going to be sturdy, or a stack of books always works, and a yoga strap. And if you don't have a yoga strap, you can always use a sarong or a tie or a belt. So we'll need those props on our mat today with us. And of course yourself, a nice quiet space. The reason we'll be going through these postures today, these standing postures, is to find a sense of groundedness, find a sense of stillness and ease. In the world that we live in today, it's such a fast go, go, go pace, and so many people are craving slowing down and just tuning into stillness. Pico Iyer from The Art of Stillness TED Talk says, "In an age of acceleration, nothing can be more exhilarating than going slow. And in an age of distraction, nothing is so luxurious as paying attention. And in an age of constant movement, nothing is so urgent as sitting still." So we'll be practicing a handful of standing postures with a little bit more depth on their alignment cues, on variations and ways to modify these postures to feel a little bit more accessible in your body, with the sole purpose to slow down and find stillness. Generally, when we take standing postures, you'll often see them in a traditional vinyasa flow where we utilize them as transitions from one pose to the next, or just kind of not be in them for a long period of time. So today we'll take a very few traditional postures and give a little bit more space within them so they can help bring in this sense of firm grounding foundation, so that we can focus on how we can truly stand within the poses, quiet our minds, and feel into our bodies. So as stated, we're going to get started in an easy seated position of choice. You can be cross-legged sukhasana, or have your legs extended out, whatever feels more comfortable. Just allow the spine to extend in a tall space, reaching through the crown of the head and rooting down through the sits bones. And take a moment, just roll the shoulders up, back, and down. Feel this broad expansion across the chest. And if it feels comfortable, allow the eyes to close shut or soften the gaze towards the earth. Right away, begin to tune into the breath. Don't worry about focusing on shifting or transforming the breath right away. Just allow it to be as it is and step into the space of the observer. Notice the breath come in through the tips of the nostrils. Notice the breath leave either out through the mouth or through the tips of the nose. As you breathe in, become aware that you are breathing in. And as you breathe out, being aware that you are breathing out. Focusing on this mindful breathing As every inhale brings in this refreshing sense to all of your cells. And as the exhalations bring this release of any tension you might find in the body. See if you can deepen the breath a little further, working its way down towards the pit of the belly. And releasing from the belly. Feel that belly button, the navel pressed back towards the spine slightly, beginning to bring more engagement to the core. But make sure you're not forcing. Breathing in, feeling the expansion. Breathing out, feeling that contraction. On your next inhale, notice the breath once it's filling into the belly. Rise a little higher into the ribs. The ribs will grow slightly east, west, north, south, and all directions the lungs fill. And as you breathe out, the ribs draw in back towards midline, almost like they're knitting towards each other. Belly button draws back towards the spine. Follow breath in, send it down to the belly, rise it into the ribs, and release from the ribs and from the belly. On your next inhale, allow the belly to fill, the ribs to expand, and the breath to breathe even higher into the heart space. The breath takes over the upper body and chest, filling up with this fullness. And as you breathe out, the shoulders relax, the heart settles in closer towards the chest, the ribs knit in, the belly button draws towards the spine. So we work with this 3-part breath: belly, ribs, heart. And from the heart down towards the belly. Bringing this sense of softness and stillness into your being. Allow this breath to flow with you through class, noticing the 3-part breath on the inhales and the exhales. When the mind wanders, which it may, you're human, that's okay. Pull it back into the breath to help you tune into the present moment. Start to bring your hands to your knees. And on your next inhale, allow the heart to rise up higher towards the sky, puff up through the chest. Feel the upper back body lift to a seated cow. And then as you exhale, softly tuck the chin, round the spine, coil in, seated cat. You're starting to get some gentle movement in the spine as you inhale. Feel the lift through the front body. Relax the shoulders. And as you exhale, feel this rounding into yourself, hollowing out the front body and broadening into the back body. Allow the breath to be the guide, to lead the movement into the next. As you start to find this fluid dance in the spine, unraveling any tension, moving through any tightness. Take about 3 more rounds. we'll make our way back through center. From here, we're gonna join onto our mat in a standing position. So just taking your time, finding your feet root into the earth. As we'll begin our first posture, tadasana. Tadasana translates to mountain pose. So mountain pose is a pose that you will see in most, if not all, classes. It is a very grounding pose, and it is a very foundational pose for a lot of the standing postures. And so we'll start with our feet. Begin to find your feet about hip width apart. When you think about your feet being hip width apart, locate where your hip bones are and think of them drawing a straight line all the way down through the tops of the thighs, through the knees, down to the ankles. So feet hip width apart. A wider stance will give a little bit more stability, and a narrower stance will bring more focus into challenging your balance. Yeah. So feet hip width apart. Start to lift all 10 toes. As you lift all 10 toes, think of dropping your pinky toes down first, your second toe, your third toe, your pointer toe, and then your big toe down. Get a really nice width across your toes. So do that about 3 times, trying to spread through your toes and trying to get the most foot to earth connection. Good. Then just play a little bit with weight distribution. So start to kind of tilt forward, back, side to side, finding your center line of gravity. As you feel into that centered space, when you feel nice and stable, we'll root down there. The 4 corners of both feet are firmly planted into the ground, like roots in a tree or in a plant. Breathe down into the earth. Imagine that kind of energy. So your feet are really firm into the earth. And there's this drawing up energy. So in Tadasana, our body is engaged. We'll slowly be building up through the legs all the way towards the crown of the head. So think of this upward pull of energy. The kneecaps will try to lift into the quadriceps. The quadriceps will start to firm. If you could think of all of the muscles hugging to bone, imagine that. So the legs start to get really strong here. Planting them down, that energy rises up. As the energy rises up, we feel this lift through the low belly and this slight tuck of the tail as we tuck the hips underneath. And so we start to get a good sense of a nice firm core engaged. Let that energy rise all the way up. Roll the shoulders up, back, and down. Reach the fingers towards the earth. Spread the fingers wide. Legs are still engaged and active. Notice the chest. The sternum wants to lift up towards the sun, like a flower's petals bloom into the light. So think of blossoming the heart open towards the sky. There's this expansion across the chest. Shoulders relax away from the ears. We reach down through the fingers. Good. Let the chin be parallel to the earth, so you don't want it too tucked. You don't want it too lifted. Nice and even, in line with the earth. Tadasana, mountain pose. Breathe here. Take 5 full breaths into your 3-part breath. Notice what areas of the body feel really powered, charged, and alive. And invite the facial muscles to be soft. So everything is active except the face. You can welcome in a soft smile. And feel how this posture allows you to ground into your own physical body. And tune into the energy that we'll be utilizing throughout the rest of the class. Bring your hands to connect in front of your heart space, coming into samastitihi. This is a beautiful spot to set an intention for the period of time you'll be in a class or a workshop, or even if you're stepping onto your mat for just a few moments to move. Your heart space, allow this moment to be for you, for your practice of what you came here for. In today's class, we'll be focusing on standing postures to bring in a sense of stillness and stability. So we can simply just think of those two words, stillness and stability. And set that as the intention to draw in that energy within our standing postures. Good. And gently blink the eyes open if you had them closed. And we'll move on to our next posture, which will be uttanasana. Now, grab your blocks and have them set up at the front of the mat, about shoulder width apart. I like to start with them on the highest setting, just so they're there in case you want them. If you don't need them, you don't need them, but if you need them, they're there for you. Find your tadasana, feet are hip width apart. Inhale, float your arms high to the sky. As you exhale from tadasana, bring your hands to your hips. We'll be hinging from our hips, so find this bend and then reach the hands towards the ground. Now, if your hands don't get anywhere near the ground, you can bring your hands to the blocks. If you tend to have a lot of tightness in the backs of your legs and your hamstrings or low back, a soft bend into the knees can bring in a little bit more support, make the pose accessible to you. You can also come onto fingertips. And if you don't have blocks, you can still do this pose. You can just let your hands reach down towards the ground. As you find yourself in uttanasana, forward bending pose, let the chin soften in towards the chest. So as you breathe in, feel that upward energy pull through the body. And as you breathe out, let the energy release out through the crown of the head. So the head might begin to fold into the heart more and more as the breath keeps you in the posture. So the blocks do have 3 different settings. You can adjust them accordingly, what works best for you. They also bring in a little bit more of a restorative or yin kind of energy, so little extra support. You don't want to have the deepest bend in your knees, yeah. We want to feel some kind of stretch in the backs of the legs. So the hips are trying their best to be over the heels, not far behind, not too far forward, but find that center line of gravity. Let the hips be stacked over the heels, the head releasing towards the earth. Some may enjoy reaching for opposite elbows, coming into more of a ragdoll position. This is a really nice pose to decompress the spine. Maybe finding a little bit of movement will feel enjoyable to the body. Or even a reach of your hands back towards the calves to help pull you in a little deeper. And just make sure you're not gripping through the toes, right? When we're gripping through the toes, we're bringing in unnecessary tension and tightness. So be soft in the toes, really wide, spread through the feet. And then the hands can come towards the earth, onto blocks, any level. Uttanasana. From uttanasana, we'll be coming into ardha uttanasana, which is halfway lift. I like to, again, start with the blocks and then go from there. So hands can rest onto the blocks, and from your uttanasana, we're just going to find the spine parallel to the ground. As the spine is parallel to the ground, it's almost like a reset for the spine, right? We will use this position many times in other poses, a lot of halfway lifts to lengthen, create space, and then fold, right? So uttanasana, ardha uttanasana. Your hands can come to your shins as an option, or to your thighs. One thing you want to prevent here is the shoulders reaching up to the ears. Sometimes unnecessary tension can creep in. So just be mindful to roll the shoulders down the back body. Keep this lift through the sternum, through the chest, and then into your fold. So we'll practice linking these few postures together as you inhale, root down, rise all the way up. Tadasana, mountain pose. Arms reach high this time. Exhale, samastitihi, hands to heart space. Inhale, float the arms high. Exhale, hands to hips, uttanasana. Hinge from the hips. Lead with the heart as you come into your fold. Hands rest wherever feels comfortable for you. You can try different variations. We'll go through these a few times just to start to build some heat in the body. Inhale, ardha uttanasana. Exhale, uttanasana. Inhale, arms rise. Exhale, samastitihi. Move with the breath. Inhale, arms float. Exhale, uttanasana. Inhale, ardha uttanasana. Exhale, uttanasana. One more time, option to try a different variation. Maybe bringing your hands through heart center as you fold and hinge from the hips. Inhale, ardha uttanasana. This time, bring the hands out in front of you, like someone's pulling you towards the front of the room. It's nice to have a micro bend in the knees for extra buoyancy, stability, and a firm, grounded foundation. This will stretch through the sides of the waist a little bit more and bring a little bit more engagement here into the glutes. The legs are working hard. Thank them. Take one more full breath in. Exhale, uttanasana. Good. Inhale, ardha uttanasana. And exhale, one more forward bend, uttanasana. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, tadasana, hands by your side. Good. So hopefully you're starting to feel a little warm in the body. Move into our next pose of utkatasana. Utkatasana translates to fierce pose. Fierce pose is also known as chair pose. You might hear it more often in class. Chair pose is a pose that builds a lot of strength, especially in our lower body. We'll start with a block for this, just to really feel the engagement of what is working. So start with your feet about hip width apart. Yeah, when we start with our feet about hip width apart, you'll take the block and the widest part of the block will come to your inner thighs. So as it comes to your inner thighs, hug into the block. So from here, your feet will still be about hip width apart. And what we're going to do is imagine there's a chair behind us. And we're going to sink into that chair, that imaginary chair, and notice how our knees start to bend. As our knees start to bend, a few things here. Make sure they're not bending and reaching forward. As they bend and reach forward, that'll bring in a lot of tension into our ankles, into our feet, and feel really uncomfortable. We want the knees to stack over the heels. So sending the hips back rather than forward. Yeah. So sinking down, continuing to squeeze into the block. So if someone was going to try to pull this block out, they shouldn't be able to. You're using a lot of your engagement, a lot of your strength in this pose. A lot of mind strength is required here to connect to the breath and keep you in the present moment. Make sure as you look down, you can see all 10 toes and possibly even lift them so you feel the four corners of your feet really rooting into the firm foundation. As you do that, the hands can come up towards the sky. Let the sternum, the center of your chest, lift up. And make sure that you can eliminate any major arch in the low back, because then we're not engaged in our low belly. So a slight tuck of the tail scoops the hips under and starts to bring a lot of awareness to the lower abdominals. Your outer abdominals will hug in, and it's like this zipper up through the front body. The sternum lifts, the arms can rise. Biceps are trying to reach up towards the ears, but if they don't get there, that's totally fine. A lot is going on in this pose, so just focus on breathing here. Go through those alignment cues. It helps if you do have a mirror somewhere nearby so you can kind of check in with yourself. And we'll land here. Take 3 breaths. Keep squeezing into the block. Feel your legs working really strongly for you. Lifting up through the heart, trying to make space in the sides of the waist. And as you exhale, fold into your uttanasana. Release the block out. And take a few rounds of breath. We'll come back into that pose with a few more options. So as you come to standing up, we'll walk our feet in a little closer. So some practice utkatasana, fierce pose, with a wide stance. It'll give a little bit more space in your hips to work with. Again, the closer the feet are, the more of a challenge that you'll have with your balance and with your stability. So try practicing bringing your big toes towards each other with like a little space between your heels. If you can imagine if the block was still in the center of your thighs, think of pressing your inner thighs towards each other, pulling that energy up through what we practice in tadasana, and then begin to sink the hips back. As you sink the hips back, knees start to bend, tail starts to tuck, toes possibly lift or lighten, and the arms come up towards the sky. Utkatasana. Low belly is hugging back towards the spine. Another option you can do is bring your hands to your heart space. I like to think of my thumbs connecting to the sternum and the sternum lifting into the thumbs to bring a higher lift into the chest. The legs are hugging in towards each other like a magnet, trying to really seal that connection. Relaxing through the shoulders, feeling the strength in the whole body. Full breaths here. Noticing what mind chatter might be occurring right now, right? So we're using a lot of strength, we're using a lot of our willpower, a lot of determination to stay in this pose, to not get lazy and let the bum stick out, continuing to tuck it under, core is active. You might even be shaking a tiny bit. That's okay. You're growing. You're getting stronger, I promise. We'll be here for 3, for 2, and 1. As you exhale, uttanasana, forward fold. Move with ease. Move with a slowness. And let the breath bring you back into the present space. Notice any sensations. Maybe now you notice how it feels to have the legs a little closer towards each other in uttanasana. Let the head relax, the crown of the head spill towards the earth. And again, hands might be on the ground, maybe a block or two, perhaps even back towards the calves. Good. We'll be building into our sequence. So on your inhale, ardha uttanasana, halfway lift. Exhale, uttanasana. Inhale, reach the arms high. Utkatasana in tadasana, arms extended in mountain. As you exhale, samastitihi, hands to heart center. Inhale, float the arms high. Exhale, uttanasana. Inhale, ardha uttanasana. Exhale, uttanasana. Inhale, utkatasana, bend into the knees, sink the hips low, squeeze the inner thighs, arms reach up towards the ears, biceps try to be alongside them. We're sinking the weight into the heels, lifting or trying to lift all 10 toes, relaxing the shoulders, spreading the fingers wide, really active through your hands, tucking the tail, lots going on, you've got this. For 3, for 2, for 1, exhale, uttanasana. The backs of the legs should be feeling warmer and warmer each sequence. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, ardha uttanasana. Exhale, uttanasana. Inhale, utkatasana in tadasana, arms extended in mountain. Exhale, samastitihi. We'll pause here just for a moment, coming back to that stillness and stability. Just noticing how it feels to be standing tall in this space. To be moving with this slowness and this pace that allows us to feel really strong within our beings. Good. Inhale, utkatasana in tadasana. Exhale, uttanasana. Inhale, ardha uttanasana. Exhale, uttanasana. Inhale, utkatasana. Feet can stay close towards each other, or maybe you want to walk them back out to a wider stance. If the block is not in between your thighs, you can always grab it if you'd like that energetic feeling. Otherwise, think of the thighs trying to gravitate towards each other. Reaching up through the heart, rooting down through the tail and through the heels. Can you bring a smile into your face? I know this pose brings a lot of seriousness for a lot of people. Just bring a gentle smile into the face. Exhale, uttanasana. Good. Allow yourself to kind of shake it out. Release any lingering tension in the body. Maybe give a little wiggle, a little nod, or shake of the head, yes or no. And we'll find our way up to Tadasana. From here, find yourself at the front of your mat, top of your mat. Blocks are nearby. And we're stepping our right foot back first. Step it back about 2 to 3 feet. You have to straighten through that front leg. All 10 toes face forward. And the feet are on 2 separate railroad tracks, right? So they're about hip width apart again. The hips are facing forward. Oftentimes, the leg that's in the back will favor that side. So if you feel like you're starting to turn towards the right, manually take your hands to your hips and adjust the hips to square so that left hip will soften back, right hip will press forward. Eliminate any arch in the back by drawing the tail down towards the ground, feeling that hug of the low belly. And do your best to not bring in a big bend into that front knee. If you're feeling too much stretch in the back of that front leg, just shorten your stance. You can also explore widening your stance east and west. for more stability. Yeah. So find your perfect space that feels the most grounding and arrive there. And as we arrive there, lift up through the heart, relax through the shoulders. We'll be coming into parsvottanasana, otherwise known as pyramid pose. The backs of the legs are nice and warm. So you always want to give yourself some space to open up through the hamstrings before you practice this pose. Otherwise, it'll feel a little tighter. So ground down, lift up through the legs, open up through the heart, bring the arms high to the sky. Spread through the fingers, relax the shoulders. And as you exhale, think of hinging from the hips like we did in uttanasana. We'll meet halfway, right? So as we pause halfway, feel your feet starting to work even more to press into the ground. All 10 toes face forward. If you peek down, they're facing the front of the room. The back heel is relaxed towards the ground and the feet are firm. From here, hands can find the blocks underneath your shoulders. Fingertips can land here. And again, notice if the hips start to get off kilter. Think of pulling that left hip back, pressing that right hip forward, and having a nice leveled pelvis. The pelvis wants to be level. If you think of having a cup of water or coffee or any of your favorite beverages on the back, we're doing our best to keep it nice and level, not spilling. Lift up through the heart, lengthen through the spine first. Lead with your breath. Remember, the breath leads, the movement follows. So on an exhale, think of the chest reaching down towards the thigh, holding into that pyramid pose. Blocks can come with you on any level. So if you are a little bit more flexible, you can come down to a lower level or even take the blocks out of the picture. And start to think of sending the breath into the back of that front leg. Three more breaths. Softening the jaw. Being with the whole length of each inhale and exhale. Bring your hands to your hips. And on an inhale, rise up. As you exhale, bend into that front knee to step that back foot forward. Inhale, utkatasana into tadasana. Exhale, samastitihi. Inhale, float the arms high. Exhale, uttanasana. Inhale, ardha uttanasana. Exhale, uttanasana. And just take a brief observation here as we've worked on one side. We're making our way to the other, but notice if anything feels different in the one leg versus the other without any judgment, but just awareness. On your inhale, ardha uttanasana. Exhale, fold a little deeper. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to hips. Step your left foot back about 2 to 3 feet. Find your toes facing forward. Square your hips. So again, tendency is if the hips want to go towards the left, pull them into that squared position, right hip back, left hip forward. Tuck the tail, lift up through the heart. We'll be practicing a different variation for this side. So options here you can take, or you can come back to anything that feels good, maybe either level of the blocks. Bring your arms high to the sky. As you exhale, bring your hands back behind and try to clasp your hands. If your hands can't clasp, you can always reach for opposite knuckles, like you're going to give yourself a little fist bump. So reaching for either that clasp or connecting the knuckles. I like to connect the knuckles just because it gives me that energy to not round in, but open up through the heart. Finding that wide stance, that strong foundation, and that lift up through the heart. Take a big breath in. And then as you exhale, hinge from the hips. Do your best to keep the hips level, so don't dump into the right side. Keep pulling that right hip back, pressing that left hip forward. And that halfway lift, use the exhale to fold you over that front leg. Now, balance can feel a little off kilter. So if you need to release the hands to blocks or the ground for stability, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, gain into your stability first, and then you can explore different options. So if your hands are still connected behind the back body, let's all release them down. Right hand stays planted on a block or the ground, either or. Left arm floats out in front of you. Exhale, left hand comes to a block or the ground. Right arm floats out in front of you. Release that right hand down. Inhale, both arms float down. Strong legs. Exhale, plant your hands. Soft bend into that front knee. Step that back foot forward. Ardha uttanasana. Exhale, uttanasana. Inhale, rise up. We're coming to our last pose, and then we'll go through weaving all those together. Our last pose will be padahastasana. Padahastasana is hand to foot pose. So your strap might come in handy for this pose. Keep it nearby. Padahastasana is hand to foot pose. So this is a really nice stretch to get into the wrists. It's nice to practice after you've done quite a few folds, as it feels more accessible in the body when the backs of the legs are more opened up. So start with your hands on your hips. As you exhale, lead with the heart, uttanasana. If your hands come to the ground easily, we'll lift one foot at a time and bring the hand underneath the foot, like the palm of the hand and the sole of the foot can kiss. Then lower the foot back down and the toes land on that wrist crease. Do it with your other foot. Now, if you have a lot of bracelets, you can either just take a moment to take them off or push them up. Also, if you have any rings that you're wearing, sometimes it helps to bring the top of the ring on the inside, or again, just take it off so it's not pounding into the ground with a lot of force. So padahastasana, foot to hand pose. Let the crown of the head relax. Let the elbows bend out to the sides. You can even begin to let your toes kind of massage into the wrists with a little sway and a little wiggle. If you have trouble getting your hands towards the ground, you can take a hold of your strap, unravel it. And so just want to make sure before you get into this that you don't grip onto the strap really, really tightly and create a lot of tension or resistance, but feel light like a feather holding the strap. We'll bring the strap underneath our feet. Lift up through the heart. And as you exhale, hinge from the hips and fold. Now your hands can walk down the strap. So if you are right here, allow the head to relax. Give yourself time in this pose to explore depth that's available to you through the breath. So as you breathe in, maybe a little halfway lift. As you breathe out, perhaps a deeper fold. The hands might walk down the strap half an inch. Let the chin soften in towards the chest. Let the shoulders relax. Again, make sure you're not gripping on for dear life onto the strap, but be light in your grip. Then release the strap. Inhale, ardha uttanasana. Exhale, uttanasana. Inhale, slowly rise, arms reach high. As you exhale, hands come to the heart. Beautiful. So before we finish class, we'll flow through those standing postures one last time together. Move your props off to the side. Have your blocks nearby if you'd like them. We'll move through this nice and slowly. Be with your breath. Feel the fullness and the expansion. Feel the emptying and the contraction. Start with tadasana, hands by your side. Reach through the crown, root through the tail and the feet. Fill into the heart, the ribs, and the belly with the breath. Be active and present in all of the muscles of the body, except the face muscles. Let them be soft and relaxed. Samastitihi, hands to the heart center, reminding yourself of your intention, stability and stillness. Full breath out. Inhale, arms extend. Exhale, hinge from the hips, uttanasana. Three breaths here. Inhale, ardha uttanasana. Neck is in line with the spine. The tail and the crown are extending in opposition. Exhale, uttanasana. Decide if you want your feet to stay wider or join the toes closer, walking the big toes to touch, bending into the knees, sinking the hips towards the heels, utkatasana. Inhale lifts the heart up. Exhale, let the hips sink deep. Inhale, energetically press the thighs towards each other. Exhale, relax the shoulders, scoop the tail under. Inhale, wash the face with lightness. Exhale, strengthen the arms, reach through the fingers. Inhale for a full breath. Exhale, uttanasana, fold, release. Inhale, ardha uttanasana. Exhale, widen your feet. Step your right foot back. Heel releases towards the ground. Toes face forward. If you're in this halfway lift, you can stay here. Or with your exhale, fold over that front leg. Keep the hips level. Saturate the back of the left leg with your breath. Find more space to breathe into. More tension in the body to release if there's any lingering. Inhale, find that half lift. Exhale, bend into the front knee, step the back foot forward. Ardha uttanasana, halfway lift. Exhale, uttanasana. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, samastitihi. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, fold uttanasana. Inhale, ardha uttanasana. Exhale, step the left foot back. Heel drops towards the ground, hips squared, right hip draws back, left hip presses forward. Hands are under the shoulders in this halfway position. Exhale, fold, pyramid pose. Parsvottanasana. Notice the firmness in the legs supporting the complete posture. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bend into that front knee, step the back foot forward. Blocks can push off to the side. You can grab a hold of your strap if you need it for padahastasana. Otherwise, slide the hands under the feet. The tops of the hands press into the ground. The palms of the hands kiss the feet. Bend into the elbows, fold a little deeper. Release your hands and step your legs back to come to your knees. Option to come back to your sukhasana just as we started, or rest here on your shins. Close the eyes and just observe the feeling in the body. Knowing that you made it onto your mat today to take a pause, to slow down for yourself. In a world that can be moving through such a fast pace, and these few standing postures can bring in such a sense of stopping, feeling into our bodies while bringing a sense of energy, a sense of calm, a sense of peacefulness. Let your hands come back to your heart space, taking a moment to honor the light within, to honor showing up for yourself, and slowing down through the speediness of life. Namaste. Thank you for practicing these standing postures today. If this class is something that you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification button, and like this video. In the comments below, share anything that you've experienced, and I will catch you on the mat next time. Thank you for joining. I will see you soon.